In this video, I'm going to give you 9 simple money habits that can have a huge impact on how much money you can save and therefore how fast you can reach your financial goals. So like I said, I want to talk about some simple money habits or techniques that I use that help me save more money and be more deliberate and more intentional with my spending, and ultimately are helping me reach my financial goals. So if you're someone that struggles to save money or just wants to save more, then make sure you stick around. So let's get started. The first habit I want to talk about is using a time rule for your purchases. Now, by using one of these rules, what it'll hopefully do is reduce the chance that you'll have buyer's remorse, which is when you go out and buy something on a whim and then end up regretting that purchase, which I'd imagine everyone knows that feeling. So how it works is basically before you decide to buy anything, you have to wait a certain amount of time, 30 days for example, before you buy it. Now, there are a few different time rules, but I like to use 2 depending on the cost of the purchase. I like to use the 72-hour rule for anything that's less than £200, and for anything that's more than £200, I'll use the 30-day rule. In the past, I've been pretty bad for impulse purchases that I've later regretted. But if I'd been using these rules the whole time, I would have avoided some pretty bad decisions. But since I've implemented these rules, I have actually avoided some pretty foolish impulse purchases. Using these rules just gives you that time to think about why you're actually buying this thing and whether it's actually the right thing to do. So just get into the habit of using these rules. So before you go buy a jet ski or a Tesla, just wait 30 days and see whether you still think it's a good decision after them 30 days. And you are much less likely to regret whatever decision you do make in the end. The next habit is to keep your goals visible. This can help stop impulse purchasing and just generally keep you on track. You could do this by putting a picture of your goal somewhere that you're going to see it often. For example, on your computer desktop, or you could even print it out and put a picture in your wallet, or even put it up on your wall in your bedroom or your office. This could be a picture of a house that you want to buy. It could be a picture of your holiday destination. It'll just help you stay motivated and remind you of that end goal and hopefully keep you on track. The next habit you need to get into to save money is meal planning. Food is our 3rd largest expense after housing and transport. I do speak about saving money on food costs a lot in other videos because with some basic planning, you can save a lot of money on food costs. So the idea is just to plan every single meal that you're going to eat and it'll save you so much money because you'll waste so much less food because you won't just be in the supermarket grabbing things at random and buying things you don't need. And by planning your meals in advance, you're going to spend a lot less on things like convenience foods and takeaways, which as we all know are very expensive. Meal planning has also saved me a lot of time because what I would do is wait until about 6 p.m. and then spend an hour trying to decide what I want, and then I'd have to go to the shop and buy it and then bring it home and cook it. So I'd end up spending hours just on my dinner. But now I already know what I'm going to have because it's on my meal plan. And I've already bought everything I need, so I don't need to go to the shop and get the stuff. Which also leads me nicely onto my next habit, which is to only shop once a week. And this works especially well if you meal plan because you can write an exact shopping list before you go and you'll already know exactly what you're going to buy and therefore what you're going to spend. And you can check before you go whether you're within your budget. Usually, the more often you go to the shop, the more you'll spend. If you want to save thousands on your grocery every single year, then make sure you check out my other video where I tell you exactly how I did just that. If you're new to this channel, then welcome. My name's Jonathan, and on this channel, we're on a journey to financial freedom, where we talk all things personal finance, money, and entrepreneurship. If that's something you're interested in, then make sure you subscribe. And if you're enjoying this video so far, then make sure you hit that like button. Right, let's get back to the video. So the next one that can definitely help you save money is to get into the habit of repairing things yourself. So basically, when something breaks or when it's breaking, instead of throwing it out or buying a new one, just repair it yourself. And this can be really easy to do. Even if you aren't good at fixing things, we've got YouTube. There is literally a video out there to repair anything, and I mean anything. But you also save on money on things like maintenance costs. So if your washing machine isn't working properly, you can just YouTube whatever problem you're having, and likelihood is somebody else has already had that problem and can probably tell you exactly how to fix it. This could save you hundreds. You know, a plumber is easily going to cost £200 to come out and repair your washing machine. I always like to say that tools are a great investment, especially because they usually last like forever unless you're doing something stupid with them. And I'm not saying go out and get a huge £300 toolkit. I'm talking just a £10, £20, £30 toolkit. Or even things just like a sewing kit. If your favourite jumper is worn and split at the seam, then instead of throwing it out or buying a new one, You'll be able to just sew it up and save yourself the money. Obviously, you're not going to be able to fix everything, but when something breaks, just think, is it really worth getting a new one, or do I really need a new one, or can I just repair it? My next habit is minimalism. You've probably heard of minimalism and it's becoming more and more popular. But if you haven't, being a minimalist is basically just being minimal in what you have and buy. There aren't any strict rules for minimalism of what you can and can't have. It's just simply not having things that you don't need or have value for. Minimalism is basically just making sure that everything you have has a purpose. And it can definitely be a way of saving you money. I feel like years ago it was desirable to have loads of possessions, to have a shiny new car, a top of the range phone, tons of clothes, shoes, just generally having loads of stuff. But now I think it's becoming more and more popular, or more and more apparent, that you can be happier by having a simpler life and not just having possessions that you don't need. Honestly, once you start thinking about whether you need what you're buying, you start to notice how much money you really do spend on things that you just don't even need. And when you have these possessions, it's not just the initial cost of buying them, it's also the costs of repairing them when they break, replacing them, or even maintaining them. So for example, if you've got all kinds of electronics around your house, then you'll not only need to buy them originally, you'll have to maintain them by, replacing their batteries or their bulbs, which can be costly and just unnecessary. I've started trying to adapt to a more of a minimalist lifestyle, and although I have got a long way to go and it's something I'm still trying to get used to, I really feel like I've got more clarity in that I don't just buy things that I don't need, or the things that I do buy, I make sure have a lot of value in my life. And it can be really easy to let clutter build up, or to buy things that you think you're going to use but then just end up at the back of the cupboard, never to see the light of day again. So by just having a more minimalist approach to your life, you can reduce the amount of things you buy and just have a calmer, more stress-free and anti-clutter life. It can be really liberating to get rid of the things you just don't need and to stop buying things that you don't need. So not only can it be much easier on the wallet, it can also be good for the mind too. Now this next one I think I've spoken about in pretty much every single video that I've made, so I won't talk about it too much in this video, but if you want to save money, then it is absolutely vital that you get into the habit of budgeting. Without some type of budgeting method, it is highly unlikely that you're going to reach your financial goals when you want to. So I have made a full video on how I budget to save the most money in the shortest amount of time. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then make sure you go check it out and I'll link it up there. Budgeting will help ensure that you don't spend money that you don't have. Will help you keep on track and help you feel fully in control of your finances. My next habit is to be organized and be aware of what you've already got so that you don't buy duplicate items. In the past, I bought so many things, forgot that I bought them, and then bought a second one, not realizing that I had the item stuffed into the back of a cupboard. This can be anything. So for example, being organized with your clothes. You might be out shopping and think, oh, I could really do with some nice jeans, when you already have some at home, but you just don't realize that you've still got them. And by being organized and knowing exactly what you've got, it can prevent you from buying extras just for the sake of it. The same with food shopping. Know what you already have, otherwise you might buy the same thing again and end up just going to waste. You can really save money just by having a sort of mental inventory of everything you've got. I'm sure you've been there before when you're cleaning out your wardrobe or under your bed and you're pulling everything out and you spend hours fascinated by all the things that you forgot that you had. But if we were more organised and more aware of what we've got, we were much less likely to spend money on duplicate items that we simply don't need. And the last one is to get into the habit of saving the pennies. So you might have heard the phrase, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. And I really love this phrase because it is so true. So basically, when you find a 2p or a 2 cents in your pocket, keep hold of it and put it in your piggy bank. So whenever you've got change that you're not going to use, make sure you put it in your piggy bank. Basically, just save every last piece of change and every single penny. So by doing this, you may save £5–10 in a month. And I know that's not much, but the amount of change you're actually saving is not where the value comes with this habit. The value in this habit comes with the mindset shift. And what I mean by this is if you're taking time to save every single penny, every last penny, it creates a kind of mindset shift in your brain and just changes how you value different amounts of money. Or at least it has for me. So by valuing small amounts of change like 2p's, 1p's, 5p's, it can help you put small amounts of money into perspective when you're buying things. I feel like sometimes we can get into the habit of discrediting small amounts of money and change as worthless. But it does add up, and when you change your perspective on small change, it can make you see the value much clearer. So for example, you could spend $1.50 on a loaf of bread, but if you shop somewhere cheaper, you could get it for 80p. And for like double the price, it's definitely not double the value. And even though it's only 70p that you're saving, if you did this on every item of your shop every week, you would save a hell of a lot of money. And this isn't just groceries. If you start to value the pennies, you can save a lot of money on pretty much everything that you buy. It can just really help you reevaluate the value of everything you're buying. So let's say you're buying a toaster and you're trying to decide between one that's £50 and one that's £60. Like at first glance, that £10 isn't a huge saving, but maybe instead of thinking of it as £10, you think of it as 1,000 pennies. And when you think, okay, that 1,000 pennies is what I'd usually spend on 4 days worth of food or 4 days worth of my energy bill, then you realize there's just better ways to spend your money, and you can just get more value for it elsewhere. I think it's really important to consider the value of what you're buying. And that's again why I like to use the 72 and 30-hour rule when I buy things. Because often we just buy things that we don't need. Or even when we are buying things that we do need, we often just spend more than we actually need to on them. So by changing your perspective on small change and pennies, this will inevitably lead you to valuing larger sums of money even more, which will help you save more money and just be more conscious of its value. I definitely think that being able to change our mindset and how we think about money is the most powerful thing we can do to save money and therefore reach our financial goals. Having good money habits is key to saving money, but you will struggle to save if you're wasting money on things without even realizing it. So make sure you watch this video next, where I talk about 8 different things that you could be wasting your money on. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.